That was lovely. Thank you, Chris. Good morning and welcome, everyone. My name is Samar Adi. I am the pastoral associate for today. Good morning as we begin on this Sunday morning to gather in fellowship. Welcome if this is your first, your second, your 100th time or more here at Mountain Vista UU congregation. Welcome. We are made whole by having you all here today together, whether in person or virtually. I ask that those of you here in person turn around and wave at the camera as we welcome those of you watching virtually either today or later on. Today's service is led by our minister, Reverend Matthew Funk-Carreri, and we will be hearing from several members of our congregation today, and I'll leave that as a surprise who that is. With tremendous gratitude, I thank the many, many people who helped put together each service. Our talented music director, Chris Tackett, our song leader, Joel Yelland, who is also our hospitality guru, our RE coordinator, Stacy Sosa, and volunteers who help run RE. And our audiovisual crew today is Lee, Elizabeth, Dan, as well as Vince on camera. Thank you. Thank you to our welcoming crew who greets those who come in, as well as our hospitality team who puts together refreshments after service. Please consider joining us afterwards for those refreshments. And thank you to all of you who are a part of this community. Whether you're here for just one service or have attended for a while, you are appreciated. While thinking about this service, celebrating our 35 years as MVUU and imagining what comes next, I came across this reading by Elandria Williams named Honoring Our Ancestors. The history and legacy of Unitarian Universalism are shaped by the ancestors in our congregations. I came as a fourth grader to my congregation, the Tennessee Valley UU Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, TVUUC. That community helped bring me into social justice struggles in the world around me and inside the UUA. My church opened so many doors because they held young people in high esteem and encouraged our leadership in the church and community. My religious education teachers, friends, parents, and spirit aunts and uncles were and still are community leaders in everything from nuclear disarmament, did not say that correctly, to anti-racism, anti-oppression issues. They have been my inspiration as I work to support others who are called by their faith to change hearts, minds, and communities. My church changed forever on July 27th, 2008, when an armed man came into the sanctuary and killed 2 UU leaders, one a member of TVUUC, and the other a member of Westside Church. This rocked our church to the core. When I first heard about it, I didn't know who had been killed, my mom, my friends, and their parents, or others who had nurtured me my entire life. I realized something that day that has stayed with me ever since. No matter what issues I have had with other Unitarian Universalists regarding our visions of God, spirit, justice, race, and age, at the root of everything is community love and faith. That day, something larger than our individual beliefs rose up in my mind. I thought of the principles, values, and family that are the connective tissue of our faith community and that held us weeks after the shooting, 6 months later on our 60th anniversary, and still today. We are part of the connective tissue that holds the legacy and future of our faith. We are the children of freedom fighters, visionaries, and radical liberal theologians. We are the phoenix rising out of the ashes of the McCarthy era and the civil rights, women's, and queer liberation movements. We are the survivors and beneficiaries of youth-led and youth-focused beliefs and programming that encouraged us to be change makers, boundary pushers, and institutionalists at the same time. We are and we will be the ministers, religious educators, congregational presidents, organizers, and social change leaders our faith has led us to be. We wear our faith as tattoos on our bodies and in our hearts as testament to the blood, tears, dreams, and inspirations of our community ancestors and elders. Let us honor today our MVU past and continue dreaming our collective future. Thank you. Today's chalice lighting, Our Lives Intersect and Intertwine, by Reverend Tanya Yadria Marquez. It is a wonder and mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. I am so glad that you are here. Let us worship, let us marvel at the miracle of being here right now and the mystery that has brought us together. Thank you.
Get the microphone. Every Sunday we return here, gathering in mystery to weave again the beauty of who we are becoming individually, who we are becoming as a community. Together we raise our awareness of this intersection of our lives, of the wholeness that we make, both celebration and in comfort. And each week then we have a ritual recognizing our sorrows, which we would comfort each other in, and our joys, which we would find ways to celebrate. We name joyful happenings so that they can be expanded. We speak of sorrow-filled events, inviting a reaching out, a question, how are you? A listening, and a gentle comfort. Representing these heights and these depths are stones that have been collected over time. And we drop them into the waters that we have gathered. Waters gathered from Sonoran skies, waters gathered from our homes and from our travels. The waters of our faith community.
Hobie Denny shares, the VA ophthalmology department has designated him as legally blind. He can no longer drive a car and has no ability to read fine print. His peripheral vision does allow him to navigate his home. He has no difficulties with cooking and other household chores, including laundry and landscaping. Hobie's frustrated by the difficulty recognizing the facial features of people more than 3 feet away. If he walks past you without acknowledging you, that's the reason. He asks that you speak up and shake his hand or give him a hug. He concludes, life is good. John Geiger and Cheryl Berman want to share their joy and gratitude for the birth of their new granddaughter, Amelia Harper Geiger, in Seattle. Amelia was born 5 weeks early and weighs 4 pounds. They are so grateful that mom and baby are now doing okay. Diane Ness is filled with joy and pride in her teenage granddaughter, Lily Ness, and her love of learning. When Lily was just 3 years old, living with Diane in India, she learned to read English, Telugu, and Hindi. Diane has cared for Lily since before she was 8 years old, when her father, Diane's son, died from cancer. Diane's most recent joy is that Lily, now 15, just finished 9th grade on the principal's honor roll. Elizabeth Van Horn shares her family's joy that her high school senior granddaughter placed first overall in the Oregon statewide track and field meet yesterday. She was first in shot put and second in discus.
For what has been spoken, we hold it in our hearts, and we prepare ourselves to respond in celebration and in comfort. But there are things among us that have yet to be named, and so I take a handful of stones for our joys, that which lifts our hearts. We know they are here among us, and we would share those and celebrate together as well. And another handful for the sorrows, that which weighs down our days and makes us feel so alone, and yet we know remain unspoken. We would comfort one another, even if we don't know the words to speak a sorrow or to respond. We would comfort one another. Just as the water holds these stones, our whole community holds our joys in celebration and our sorrows in care and comfort. Our pastoral care team wants to hear your joys and sorrows, and then if you allow, we would share them, as Tom has, with our congregation during this ritual. You just need to reach out to one of us so that we might respond as individuals, as our caring committee, and then to lead our congregation to respond as well. As this water holds all of our joys and sorrows, may we hold one another. Our first song together this morning is As Tranquil Streams. I want to invite you to rise in body or in spirit. Join your voices together with Joel leading us.
As tranquil streams that meet and merge and flow as one to seek the sea, our kindred hearts and minds unite to build a church that shall be free. Free from the bonds that bind the mind to narrow thought and lifeless creed. Free from a social code that fails to serve the cause of human need. A freedom that reveres the past, but trusts the dawning future more, and bids the soul in search of truth adventure boldly and explore. Prophetic church, the future waits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.
I invite you now to a time of contemplation, of considering and pondering the miracle of 35 years. In the Western tradition of anniversary gifts, the recommended gift for 35 years is coral. I did not know that before, and it seems like some of you didn't know that either. Despite my Googling, it's still not clear to me why vibrant calcium carbonate structures of aquatic ocean creatures forming tropical reefs became this tradition. But the more that I learned, the more I found coral fits our anniversary to the T. Coral is created by communities of individual living creatures that have 1 foot, well, technically 1 tentacle in the animal world and 1 tentacle in the plant world. These creatures grow together over generations and slowly craft their amazing structures, creating the foundation for brand new environments. The zoologist Sidney John Hickson once wrote that the coral reef cannot be properly described. It must be seen to be thoroughly appreciated. And so here in the dry Sonoran Desert, we might need that visual reminder to actually get into this metaphor a little bit more. So here's a short video by Magda Elthers. Coral structures support life. The shapes of coral are unpredictable, formed by the movement of life and the push and the flow of the tides they are immersed in. These astounding shapes, these amazing colors of coral are affected by their relationships with their undersea environment and in turn impact all that surrounds them in a deep symbiotic relationship. It is beautiful, wonderful, and the Reverend Barbara Rhodes, a UU minister, says it just might be a miracle. Her contemplation on miracles, she begins to recognize that miracles are often defined as supernatural or something beyond the natural, an intervention that comes in from the outside. But, she continues, the supernatural might also be defined as that which is most perfectly natural, which is whole, that which is completely true to the purpose of its nature. Now, this might sound like miracles become common and mundane, and on one hand, yes, and on the other hand, no. Finding miracles within the natural process of wholeness does mean they can be found everywhere, from the furthest stars down to the earth, in the animals and the plants in our world, and right here, right now, within you. And that raises wholeness and completeness and growth to our awareness. That in and among human beings, in the midst of our world of division and cruelty and even heartbreak, there is wholeness, kindness, healing, surrounded by arresting tragedy and trauma, which we are immersed in every single day. Awareness of these natural miracles can carry us forward. So yes, miracles, they're mundane. They arise out of nature and out of human nature. And they are also supernatural, demonstrating that when we are true to that nature, we become whole and complete. So the nature of coral is a miracle. Its purpose is to grow into unexpected, wonderful, life-giving wholeness, just as our congregation is a miracle, as evidenced over the last 35 years. Because it was on Sunday, May 17th, 1989, that a chalice was lit and a worship was led, and our congregation entered into covenant with the Unitarian Universalist Association. That moment didn't just spring into existence out of nothing. Conversations beginning in the mid-'80s at the UU Church of Tucson brought together a group of individuals in Claire Toth's kitchen. And they imagined and made plans and did the work to become the Northwest Unitarian Universalist Congregation. Now, according to our records, and Miss Emily, you can totally correct me later about this, it was Reggie Regler to first sign the membership book. And then Howard Morton, then Miss Emily Ricketts, Rosemary Edmondson, Francis Week, Francis Adams, Pat Desai, Leon Bennett Alder, Sandy Shillong, Claire Toth, and Dinshaw and Husty Contractor. Their vision for a faith community was to serve the needs of UUs in our area, and it slowly, devotedly was cultivated year after year, decade after decade, generation after generation. All along, no one could have predicted how the congregation would develop. They could not have foreseen the challenges and the triumphs or the conflicts and the healing. There was no way they could have conceived of the changes in the world around them that would shape and mold what our congregation is right now. Over 35 years, our name would change. Our places of worship and gathering, they moved around. And many and various people would come and would go, just as would ministers and professional staff. But from that flame, lit on May 17th, 1989, to the one that burns here today, we stayed true to our nature. We sought and found wholeness together. We lived into our purpose as a faith community alive with celebration and with comfort and ready to engage, love, and transform. In the broadest strokes, but also in the minute details, it is a wonder-filled 35 years, a supernatural process of growing and becoming. It is a miracle. And what does a Unitarian Universalist do with a miracle? Reflecting back on her own experiences of miracles, Reverend Barbara concludes she does what all human beings do in the presence of wonder. She gives thanks. And we give thanks for the wonder and the miracle of 35 years of becoming a congregation, a foundation for our life together, and for giving life to our future. To all of you here who joined in this natural process, and to all of those who are absent due to distance or to death, thank you. You gave us purpose. You taught us how to become whole together. Thank you. May we receive that flame lit 35 years ago. May we honor the miracle, mundane and supernatural, and may we boldly carry it forward into all that is to come. We invite you now to a time of meditation, of centering on this people and this place, and of breath in this moment.
Take a deep, calming belly breath with me.
And breathe out a little longer than you breathed in with me.
Breathe in and out and relax into this moment, here in this place, among this people.
Breathe in and out, and feel yourself among the past history and the future promise of this place and people.
O Spirit that moves in all things,
great mystery whose reach spans beyond the cold, distant edges of our universe, and yet is present within the vast subatomic emptiness.
coursing through every fiber and every breath of our being, and through being itself.
Help us to perceive the miracle in the mundane, to witness the crystal stars, the shape-shifting clouds, the patient trees.
The coral reef of the seas, the cholla cactus of the desert, the natural structures of health and wholeness.
May we see each other through fresh eyes, for it is so easy to forget what we truly are and all that we've been given.
As we move through our lives, let us remember to perceive, to witness, to see through the mundane to the miracle beneath.
And to perceive that common substance that gives birth to our myriad forms, that mystery that spans across the edges of the universe, and yet it infuses your next breath.
And let this foundational awareness guide us on our paths as we work towards peace and fight for justice, while always informed by a spirit of compassion.
May it be so.
As we choose it to be. Amen.
Our next sacred song is Let This Be a House of Peace. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit. Sing the words as they are projected with Joel leading us.
Let this be a house of peace, of nature and humanity, of sorrow and elation. Let this be a house, a haven for the healing, an open room for question and our inspiration. Let the house of peace, let this be a house of peace, of freedom, guardian of dignity and worth held deep inside us. Let this be our house, a platform for the free voice, where all our sacred difference here shall not divide us. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let them in our house seek truth, where scientists and mystics abide in reverence here. Let this be our house, a house of our creation, where works of art and melodies consecrate the atmosphere. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
be a house of prophecy, of vision of our children, be our common theme. Let this be our house of mystery and legend, our trove of ancient story and cradle of our tender dreams. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace. Let this be a house of peace.
Please be seated. Like Coral, 35 years of Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalist is hard to properly describe. There's so much, so many that contributed to the miracle of our congregation. And so during fellowship, I invite you to share your story and to listen to others for all that has woven us together. But with that particular challenge in mind, I invited some of our past presidents, those who had witnessed and led MVUU, to gather and to make a video of what they perceived, what they witnessed and saw in the process of our becoming who we are today. Now, unfortunately, there were a number of past presidents who were not able to join us, and in particular, Pat Desai and Miss Emily Ricketts, who had planned on joining us but could not. Still, 6 of our past presidents gathered here a few weeks ago up in our loft, and they came ready to respond to just a few questions, but more than that, to have a conversation about the last 35 years. Now, that entire hour and 45-minute gathering is not what we're watching right now, but it will be put up on our YouTube channel for your viewing. The small portion that we're showing focuses on their response to the purpose, the nature of our congregation, and what it's been over time. For example, Pat gave a written reply, and she named that it has been inclusion and welcome. And Miss Emily wrote, it's our principles and covenants. And we shared those responses and then took off from there. And you'll meet those past presidents, 6 of them, and hear how what they viewed brought us to this day. And one last comment, we have worked hard to make this video as visually and audibly as good as it can be, and we still apologize. The wisdom is here. The wisdom is still here.
Well, my name is David Green, and I think I was on the board as president or first vice president. I had 2 roles over, I think it was 3 years. Twice in one of those roles. And I'm pretty much no worse for the wear.
And I'm Karen Boothroyd, and I was president, thank you, and from 2015 to 2019.
And I want to say that I was on the board in each of your, with the exception of Ann, I couldn't be because of our conflict of interest, but I was on the board when each of you.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, in different roles, trustee,
Yeah.
vice president, you were president.
Tom Sawyer, and I succeeded Ann from 21 to 23, although it seemed like 10 years. But it was just 2. When you look back and you see that we're all standing on the shoulders of the people that started this church and
We are.
kept it alive in the early days.
Well, it's nice to see you spent 35 years and you have something to show for it.
Conrad Paul. I served just prior to Betty. I'm not sure how many years. I don't think it was more than 2 years.
To answer the question, what do you see as the core values or guiding principles that have shaped the identity and mission of our church throughout history? Kindness and inclusion.
As a congregation, I feel like the sense that we welcome people into this congregation, that people come here, and I've heard of some exceptions to this, but for the most part, people come and say that they feel like they're welcome. They feel like they get a sense of belonging very quickly. People talk to them, they get invited to do things or to ask questions. They don't feel like they're put off.
In renting the building to outsiders and watching their reaction as I show them the building is quite remarkable. They walk in and they are blown away by the welcoming feeling that's here, the hominess of it, the sense that it invites people to come. And so I think about that a lot, kind of what David was saying a moment ago, when we think about this evolution from way back in Claire's kitchen to where we are today, and how, in a sense, this building embodies that, and the people, and how generous the people have been here through the years, and how generous people are, not just with their money, but with their time and talent.
When we were getting ready to look for the new minister, Sibylla Van Irvin and I were asked to put together a survey. And one of the things we were hoping to get out of that survey was what were the core values of the congregation. And to tell you the truth, out the end of it, there wasn't a lot that we could say were the real reasons that this congregation is here right now. But I think Pat has a finger on it, in that it's inclusion. I think that's with Unitarianism as well. It's inclusion of people and the acceptance of differences among people, and recognizing how that can enlarge your whole entire life.
But I've also found, I agree, I think the inclusivity is probably the greatest, sort of at the top of the list of what I see is what this congregation aspires to. But also, since we've been here, this is largely thanks to you, Chuck, and others, we've become part of the community.
I think that connections are just our lifeblood. And one of the things when we invite people to share their time and talent, that beyond attending things or doing things that are social, the giving back and volunteering gets people to connect with other people who they may not think they have something in common with initially, but it gets different people together, and then they learn to know each other better. And that's part of the spiritual effect of the volunteering, even to run the building at every level, making those connections, because it's so easy for us to, like to come here and meet half a dozen friends, and that's my little group. But we need to meet the people who are not like us and find out what they're about. And working together on projects helps.
The accomplishment that we're talking about and sharing now, I am well, kind of amazed, but amazed is probably the wrong word. Because there seems to have been just a flow of determined, positive action that has moved from those early days to right now. And during this, a lot of our terms, there have been bumps in the road. There have been people who weren't quite sure they liked what was going on. But there have been more people who stayed the course with us. And it kind of makes the kinds of things that I would talk about. Yes, there were some budget things that came up. And yeah, there were times that during my tenure, there was a lot of discussion about we should move. No, we shouldn't move. We should build here. No, we shouldn't build here, or we can't build here. There were those kinds of things. But to me, the greatest achievement is what we've been talking about here. We did it, and we did it together. And that's what I think about it.
You know, we've had some very heartfelt and eloquent statements. And, you know, I really can't add to them. I think what you all, I mean, I'm impressed with your ability to express, you know, what you feel is your values. And I just, you know, I thank you. And I'm not going to try to add or because, you know, you've said it, all of you together.
Last week in our meeting, Reverend Matthew told me that 35th anniversary was the choral anniversary. And I thought, aha. And I realized, whoops, he meant without an H in it. But that's okay. We were talking about river imagery and water imagery. And I said, I have just the perfect thing. We've been working on it this spring. We sang it last year, but I loved it so much we had to bring it back this year. This is a beautiful setting of the Mika Mocha, or the Song at the Sea from Exodus. When the Israelites have run like crazy, being chased by Pharaoh's army, and they are all of a sudden at the shore of this great river, which for when you're standing there on it and looking out across it, it may as well be an ocean. And the Pharaoh's army is running down at you, and not for the first time the Israelites all turn to Moses and say, "What have you done? Why have you led us here?" And all of a sudden the waters part, and they go running across, once again being chased like crazy by Pharaoh's army. And they get to the far side, and the waters all flow in, and Pharaoh's army is defeated, and the Israelites stand on the far shore and sing a great song, Mika Mocha Ba'elem Adonai, who is like you, O God, who brings us here and brings us with these miracles. Contemporary American singer-songwriter Michael Hunter Oaks has woven it in with a text, and you'll recognize a little snippet of melody from the American civil rights movement. The imagery of standing on the shore of the river and not knowing the river that divides us, the river of hate, the river of intolerance, and the river of everything that stands in our way. But yet together, we hold hands and we face together and we make it across. So happy choral anniversary. Come on, choir. And before we sing this, I also want to say an enormous, enormous thank you to these wonderful people and all the people who have already flown off for their summer haunts that are here with us now, will be back with us in the fall. But thank you all for these wonderful people who sing, give so freely of their time and talents, and come every Wednesday night and the occasional Sunday morning and sing for all of us. So thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. And I never object if anybody feels the mood to get up and dance. Kamoka ba'eli Adonai, mi kamoka nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot, osefele.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Chris. So, what are we going to do with our miracle? I mean, yes, gratitude and thanks. But what do you do with wonderful 35 years of becoming a people and a place? What do you do with the strength and the wisdom and the experience and the resilience that we have been gifted? Well, we could just honor the legacy of our congregational ancestors, and we will do that. We could just accept the blessings of our elders present here today, and we will do that. But honestly, I think what we're called to do is nothing more and nothing less than be miraculous. You may not quite know how, and that's okay. Because neither did those who gathered in Claire Toth's kitchen over 35 years ago. They just had faith. And they had each other. And so we've brought Claire's kitchen here into our church house to remind us not just of those humble origins, but that together in faith, we can be a miracle for the future. We have Claire's Kitchen, and if you haven't seen it, I invite you to go back. Miss Emily, you can tell us if it's missing any of those cookies that you all enjoyed. But it invites us to imagine, and I invite you to imagine. What would it feel like to you for the miracle of Mountain Vista Unitarian Universalists to continue? How would it impact your life for this people, this place, these programs to grow in more wholeness, more inclusivity, more kindness, to grow in healing? What would it be like if we were even more covenantal? How would it impact our neighborhoods and our region if we were to take the strength and the wisdom, the experience and the resilience that we have been given and infuse that into our outreach? How would we impact the whole world? Gather that up. Gather up your hopes and your dreams, your imaginings, your wishes. Because we're about to make 3 toasts together. If our Toastmaster, Robin, would you bring in our carts? It's kind of coral colored. He's going to bring these right to the center, and you're going to help one another so that everyone gets a little cup of sparkling apple cider all the way down the center aisle, please. Yeah? You go towards the camera, and Joel can follow that up. This one is for all of you at home. I'm going to put it right here where we've had it all along on the altar. And then, once you all have a cup, I'll lead us in 3 toasts, all right? So I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and help one another get a cup of our sparkling apple cider. Thank you. With heartfelt gratitude, I invite you to join me in 3 toasts. I'll make a toast, and then I'll invite you, if you agree with it, to respond, "Hear, hear," which let's practice that. Toast. There you go. Thank you. And then we'll take a sip. Remember, there are 3 toasts, so don't drink it all down in one. To the miracle of the past 35 years. To the miracle of the next 35 years. To the miracle of this moment, gathered in mystery, gathering in community, together in wholeness. Between the past and the future, may we be the miracle that we and our world needs. As I have been taught, Ashe, Aho, Amen, because we choose it, may it be so. Our closing hymn is Let All the Beauty We Have Known. The words will be on the screen. Joel will lead us in song, and please remain standing, finish your drinks, and pass them to the center.
Let all the beauty we have known illuminate our hearts and minds. Rejoice in wonders daily shown, in faith and joy and love that binds. We celebrate with singing hearts the loveliness of sky and earth, the inspiration of the arts, the miracle of every birth. Life's music and its poetry surround and bless us through our days. For these we sing in harmony, together giving thanks and praise.
Thank you all for being here today. I hope you enjoyed the toast. In solution-focused therapy, which is a type of therapy modality, there's a technique called the miracle question. It goes something like this. You wake up in the morning after the miracle you've been wanting to have happen happens. You look for the earliest signs, changes in the life you have that represents that change. It could be something as simple as seeing your partner glance at you and smile, or feeling excited about plans later on that day. Questions asked drill down to explore what you personally do to encourage or actualize that new reality. There are several benefits to this technique. It allows for an envisioning of change, figuring out what changes should occur and what that could look like. It also allows us to unlock our resources by keeping in mind our own strengths and abilities that could contribute to that future. It allows us to move away from only focusing on what isn't working to what do we need to do to change things. It encourages dialogue and reflection with the process of figuring it out. I hope today has allowed some time and reflection, and I hope that time and reflection continues throughout your journey here, about honoring our past and building on it. Thank you for being here. And so today's announcements, we're going to be going through them. First one is Children's Action Alliance. The Children's Action Network is an organization dedicated to raising awareness and finding homes for more than 100,000 children who are in the U.S. foster care system, waiting for an adoptive family, and the more than 400,000 children in foster care. The next one is General Assembly. So our General Assembly this year is going to be virtual, June 20th to 23rd, so next month, if anyone wants to talk to our representatives. And then we also have UU the Vote in Tucson. So UU the Vote is our national justice organization, bringing our faith to action through elections. And it's coming to Tucson on Saturday, June 1st. Reverend Matthew will be joining in a phone bank at the UU Church of Tucson to reach out to youths across the state and connect over issues on the November ballot. You are invited to join him. Please contact him directly if you are interested in more information. Thank you. Today is Releasing the Flame by Reverend Vanessa Titang, she, her, they. Like the flame of the chalice, may the flame in our hearts burn, remaining unextinguished. May it ignite our energies, our drive, our resolve, to dream, to build, and live into the world, that good which exists, for now, only in our imaginings. Thank you and blessed be.
So we've sung, we've tasted. We need to dance a little bit. It's easy. It's easy. Lean to this side. Lean to this side. With me. Here. And here. And just keep that going nice and easy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.